Ozark School Board meeting. It's on. Welcome everyone to the Ozark School Board meeting. Yeah. Welcome. Hello, welcome. I think our mic has to work more. Yeah. Welcome. Maybe it is working. Yeah.
Test.
Try this one now. Welcome. Test. Welcome. Yeah, we'll just talk loud. And we'll welcome to the November School Board meeting. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I think we're going to start with our recognitions. So tonight, welcome to the Ozark School Board meeting. We will start with our Portrait of a Graduate recognitions. And first we have Tiger Paw, Dr. Dawson.
Good evening, everyone. I am very excited to introduce Mrs. Mihaela Coker. She is one of our early childhood special education teachers, and she has brought one of her students tonight, Miss Rylan Arnold, to talk about why she chose her for the Portrait of a Graduate characteristic Teachable. Here's Miss Rylan. Rylan is one of my students. I chose her because she is one of the most hardworking, determined, and motivated kiddos that I've ever gotten to work with. She just comes to school every day with the best attitude and a willingness to learn and work hard. And she does work hard every day. She never gives up. She never stops trying. Anything she wants to learn, she will learn. And she is just one of the most teachable and enjoyable students that I've ever gotten to work with.
Thank you. And next we have North Elementary, Dr. Wallace.
Good evening. I have Mr. Riker Stutzman. Riker is a second grade at North Elementary, and Riker is going to be our representative for being teachable this month. I've brought a person who needs no introduction, Mrs. Esch, to talk about some of the traits that specifically earned Mr. Riker the trait of being teachable. Mrs. Esch, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Esch. I teach second grade at North Elementary, and whenever my team heard that our grade level was going to choose a teachable child for this evening, we sat around and we collaborated about it, and we have lots of students who are teachable, and it was kind of a hard choice to make. But I had several compelling arguments as to why Riker should be chosen. One of the things about Riker is, well, he's joyful, and while he's a portrait of a graduate, So, Riker loves to learn, and so his mom had told me that he'd been writing things as they traveled, and he was taking note of where he was. So he went to the Ranger competition that was on the film slideshow prior to this, and so I said, Riker, I need for you to remember the places you went. And so Riker came back, and he was so excited. He said, we crossed the Mississippi, the Tennessee, and the Ohio rivers. And then he proceeded to tell me about those places. So most second graders, you ask them where they went, and they say, I don't know. So Riker remembered, and he made a point of remembering. Last week, we were working on our sound unit, and we made duck calls. Riker and I will now demonstrate our duck calls. And if you notice, my short straw made a different sound than Riker's long straw. And we had talked about this, and Riker was the kid in my class who he took what I gave him and made it his own. And so Riker said, Mrs. Esch, if I put my little one inside the big one, it makes a lower sound. I can use this for a deer call. Now, he's not going to put my straw in his, we're not going to do that here because that's too much commingling. But Riker is the kid who did that all by himself, and he extended the thinking on his own. And so I am just beyond the moon excited to present Riker to you and have him be an example of teachable. Riker.
Yep. You can come this way. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. South Elementary, Dr. Roy.
I'm not sure about following that. It's a great evening this evening to recognize an outstanding third grader. This is Roka Swanberg. And I have with me Miss Karanja as well, and she is our academic interventionist, and she would like to say a few words about Roka.
Okay, well, tough act to follow, but we are going to do our best here. This is my friend Roka, and as the interventionist, I get to work with lots of kids, and it's my first year getting to work with Roka. One thing that really stands out about him is I came to him and I said, hey, we're going to get to work together on your reading, and we're going to work on fluency, and this is kind of the things that we're going to do, and he just said, okay, let's do it. Jumped right in. I gave him some things to work on at home. He took it home. Collaboration with the family. They were working hard, and he would come back and he'd be like, I've got this done. I'm ready for more. And so just definitely a kiddo that is super teachable, comes to my class every day, ready to learn, ready to jump into the learning, wants to help the other peers, and he's just making great gains and is very teachable whenever he comes to the intervention room. So I'm super proud of him and excited to see where his growth goes this year.
East Elementary, Karen Capon.
I am so excited to present to you Miss Isla Oldham. She is a kindergartner. Her teacher couldn't make it tonight, but she is the one who nominated her, Beth Trojanowski. She is teachable and a learner. This is what Miss Trojanowski says. Isla understands work first, then play. Isla always takes her time and pride in her work. During group lessons, Isla listens and raises her hand when she wants to share. During corners, she helps others clean up. She loves to learn and help in the classroom. So great job, Isla.
West Elementary, Rachel Tabuya. Oh, Carrie Nelson. Yeah. And yeah. Ms.
I am
Ward.
not Mrs. Tabuya. I am Melinda Rice. I am the school counselor at Ozark West. Mrs. Tabuya, Mrs. Ward couldn't be here today. So I am introducing Carrie Nelson, who is our social worker, and she is going to introduce our Teachable Student of the Month.
Good evening. So on Fridays, I am privileged to be a part of the Care to Learn program, and I distribute the Friday food bags to students in need. And every Friday, I choose a student to assist me in delivering the bags, and I choose students for different reasons. But the week that I chose Xander, it was because he had actually pulled me aside in the hallway and offered to volunteer and help other students. Xander is such a great asset to our school. He's an excellent learner, he's energetic, he's enthusiastic, but most of all, he has a wonderful heart. Congratulations to Xander.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Ozark Middle School, Dr. Russell.
Good evening. So tonight I have the privilege to introduce two amazing individuals. First off, I have with us from the Explore team, fifth grade teacher and two-time Oscar teacher winner, Miss Maria Turner. And with me over here, I have Mr. Wesley Gant, one of our most amazing fifth grade students. And Ms. Turner's going to share a little bit with you about why we selected Wesley and why we're so thrilled to have him at the middle school.
Wesley, oh, I'm too short. Oh, gosh. Okay, Wesley, this is a message from Mrs. Pate, Mrs. Shanholzer, Mrs. Chisholm, and myself. Since the very first day of school, Wesley has shown that he is hungry to learn new information. He entered fifth grade ready to tackle the school year with grit and determination. He is continuously striving to meet all of his teachers' expectations while accepting correction and redirection with grace and perseverance. At times when he is unsure of an answer, he immediately seeks help and advocates for himself in such a polite and respectful manner. Additionally, when a concept comes easily to him, he is the kiddo that's more than willing to provide help to any classmate in need. Based on all of these factors, Wesley, you demonstrate a teachable student in every aspect, and this is why we chose you for this amazing award, kiddo.
Ozark Junior High, Dr. Link.
Good evening. Our student of the month is Sadie Havens. She's a seventh grader on Team South America. She couldn't be here tonight, but we got her picture taken up here. She's got up here on the wall. She is playing on our seventh grade girls basketball team tonight, and they're down in Carthage. So she's, about an hour and 45 minutes away. So she unfortunately couldn't be here. Regardless, we still want to recognize her. Sadie is new to Ozark School District. This is her first year here in the district, and her first year coming to a larger school from a small school setting. That alone can be a bit challenging for kids when they step into an environment like that, and you couldn't tell because from the very first day of school, the second she steps out of her dad's truck, and this is every day, she's got a smile from ear to ear, ready and eager to take on the day. Her teachers have nothing but incredible things to say about her, ranging from just how critical and how deep of a thinker she is, and not in the sense of her willingness to ask questions because she doesn't understand, but she asks questions because she wants to extend her learning. And that in turn has such a positive impact on that classroom climate, impacting all the learners in that room. And she's just an overall joy to be around. She's jumped in 2 feet into the Ozark School District culture, learning what it is to be an Ozark Tiger, involving herself in numerous extracurricular activities. So there's no doubt, and her teachers say this too, that she's going to be a successful kid here in Ozark Public Schools. So for those reasons, we want to celebrate Miss Sadie Havens as our Student of the Month.
Thank you. And Ozark High School, Dr. Brownfield.
Good evening. So tonight I have with me Senior Aiden Johnson. A lot of Aiden's teachers commented on his willingness to learn new things in order to help him solve problems and help others, but our best example came from our ag teachers. Aiden is a member of our FFA leadership team. He is the chaplain this year, that's correct. And he saw a need in the shop out there in ag. They have a CNC plasma cutter, and it wasn't working quite right. So Aiden took it upon himself to learn the ins and outs of the CNC plasma cutter and got it up and going, and it is now operating smoothly. And that impacts not only him, but that impacts all those other students who now have the opportunity to learn because he was willing to go out there and try something new. He also approached me earlier this year about starting an Ozark FFA podcast, which is available on Spotify and Apple. For those of you who listen to podcasts, Ozark FFA podcast, suggest you subscribe to that. Professionally done. He is the host, and it is really a fantastic thing that he's doing for our FFA program. So, Aiden Johnson.
Finley River School, Ms. Leonard.
Good evening. I want to present Kaylee Lewis Elliott as our representative from Findlay for Teachable. I think Kaylee said it best, so I'm going to read some excerpts of what I included in your notes, but the others have not heard this. My love for Findlay started the first time I set foot in the building. Although I didn't stay for long, they showed me so much love and kindness. When I left, I was sad, but I knew I would somehow find my way back. I did, and a year and a half later, Mrs. Leonard was in my classroom door for me. Not only have they changed my life, my journey, and my headspace, but they have given me something I thought I could never finish, my education. At the beginning of my junior year, I thought I wasn't going to graduate. Here I am, graduating in May 2024, a straight-A student for going on 3 semesters with a plan of going to college to become an educator. I want to do... I want to do what they have done for me. I want to show kids that anything is possible. They can do what they put their minds to. All the teachers at Findlay have shown me that, and for that I am forever grateful to all of them. I can never thank them enough for what they have given back to me. They have given me my chance and a future. And while Kaylee gives us all this credit, let there be no mistake, she is the one who has done the work. She's taken advantage of the opportunities that we've simply made available to her, and that is why she is indeed teachable.
Okay, we'll go for our photo. We will be right back. Dr. Carson or? There he comes. Yeah. Let's request of district patrons next. Oh, water? Yeah. I'll just steal your diet. Oh, that's okay if someone else needs it.
No, we're good.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna wait till the kids clear out. Hey, the kids are, oh, with South Elementary next. Yeah. So we're gonna go. All right, next we'll have our South Elementary presentation. Our highlight this month is from South Elementary, so Sarah Cooper and Sandra Roy.
Thank you. It's certainly a great night to be a Southie. Yeah, well represented tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight two very important areas for us. We are going to talk tonight about how we connect with our students and build relationships with our students, and also the work that we do as a professional learning community in regards to student achievement. So the next person that's going to talk is Dr. Cooper.
So we met as a leadership team and a staff this year and really came up with 4 focuses for our building for students. As you can see listed, building relationship is huge for us at South. Our portrait of a grad words that we are continuing to strive for every day to make great humans in this world. Connecting with one another and having a positive mindset. And so we have taken these 4 things and we focus on these each and every day at South in a couple different ways. One of them is through our family time that we do, which is a time we gather together to celebrate. And another is through our student recognitions, through our positive office referrals, as well as our portrait of our graduate assemblies. So you are going to see a short video that's going to highlight the work we do at South around these areas.
I like family time. Probably because you can see all your friends. We get to walk and talk because, like, I didn't get to see my friends very much because they're not in my class. Walking and talking and saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Family time is a time for connectivity, I believe. It's a time for our classrooms to be together in the mornings, a time for each individual student to see their part of their community within their room, but also their community outside of their classroom. In this building, we are all family. So when students come to us each morning, it's also a time for them to check in, feel good about being at school. If they've had a rough morning, we can reach out, we can share an opportunity where they are able to talk to an adult and let us know what they're thinking. That in itself allows them to upshift.
I like walking and talking with my friends because they're your friends, but then you get to learn more and more about them every family time.
The big picture, though, of what we're doing is we're talking about our portrait of a graduate words. And with that is emphasizing these words that from kindergarten through 12th grade, every year we're going to hammer on these words to all of our students. So that by the time they're in middle school, junior high, and high school, they've got a foundation for what it is we're looking for, those things that make someone a better citizen of the community.
I learned that you can get together and then you can also meet new friends because you might bump into them and say, oh hi, I might have met you in kindergarten or something.
The overall goal for South is for kids to feel connected and that sense of community and pride for what we do here at South. And it's important for us to give teachers an opportunity to connect and praise their students, and for the students to feel and receive those positive words, those words of affirmation. One way teachers are given an opportunity to recognize students with positive office referrals is by submitting those on a daily basis. And I read those over the announcements, and then students are given a chance to come to the office and see me and just feel that recognition piece, and then they are given an opportunity to choose a prize for that positive office referral. In addition to that, they are also working on individual academic goals or maybe behavioral goals, and so teachers will recognize students for that, and thus they get to get a book from the book vending machine for achieving that goal.
So everybody's probably wondering, how does this all come together at South Elementary? One of the ways we bring together our Portrait of the Graduate words is through our monthly assemblies. We have an assembly once a month in which everybody in the school is invited to celebrate our Portrait of a Graduate winners. These are students that teachers have nominated who have really shown above and beyond everybody else how we display our word. It's a time we invite families in, staff, students, where we can celebrate publicly kids' accomplishments and the great things that they are doing at South Elementary. So as you guys were able to... Woo! So as you all were able to see, family time has been a great addition to us at South. It is really the vision of Dr. Roy and our team to build community. And we do this first thing in the morning from 8:15 to 8:40. So it does not cut into our precious academic minutes we have. And the amazing thing about that is while we are doing that and facilitating that as a leadership team, our teachers are able to have some additional collaboration time to really focus and work on the PLC, the work that they are doing. And we have two main focuses for that we're going to get ready to talk about, and that is student goals as well as our vertical teaming. But we wanted you guys to really be part of South today. We appreciate each of you, so you'll have on your table in front of you one of our character shirts that we give out at assemblies. We hope you wear them with pride. We wear them with pride, and our kids love to display those. But I'm going to have Dr. Dunn and Ms. Roussel, our instructional coaches, come up and talk to you guys about our PLC work around collaborative planning and setting goals.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Dr. Dunn, and I'm the instructional literacy coach at South Elementary. I get the privilege of working with the best teachers in the district. Southies are a family, and we are definitely all a family. And part of our important family work is that we really take pride in being able to collaboratively plan together. Our PLC time is important for our teachers. They are doing work around priority standards, proficiency scales, assessments. They are really getting time, and time is precious in our world, to reflect on those instructional practices and share those practices with each other. One of the things that we were able to do this past Monday during our PLC is we were able to take a learning walk. One of the things we don't often get to do is to visit other classrooms that are in other grade levels. We meet with our grade level teams, but we don't get to go around and see what's happening in kindergarten, in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and really look at student work and see how students are growing from kindergarten to first grade to second grade to third grade to fourth grade, and just across the building. So it was really fun to watch, for all of us to get to go around and look at student work and reflect on that and think about our practices. Mrs. Roussel is going to talk about some of our student goal setting and tracking and how we're even doing that in kindergarten.
Good evening. At South Elementary, we take pride in our focus on student achievement. Our teachers work really hard at motivating our students and building confidence through goal setting. And our students are very familiar with goal setting. They set goals, they track their goals, and they reach their goals in both math and ELA. Now, you might think this is something that we do with just our older kiddos, but in fact, as Dr. Dunn just said, we actually do this with our kindergarten students. Right now, our kindergarten students in ELA are currently tracking their goals in letter identification and sounds. And in math, they're currently tracking their goals in counting to 120. And not only are these kiddos, it's amazing, not only are these kiddos tracking their goals, but they're meeting their goals and setting new ones. And if you don't care to scroll forward, we did include some pictures for you to look at with their learning walk and, of course, goal setting. So those pictures are on there. So if you'll just pause right there. Right there. Thank you. Dr. Wilson challenged us this year to have a word that would guide our purpose and guide our focus. And so that word for me was together, and is best said by Helen Keller. I can do, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And so I have with me tonight some of the sweetest first graders, as well as Miss Kaufman. Miss Kaufman is the music teacher at South. She is absolutely amazing. She does amazing things with our students. This is her 3rd year at South, so I am super proud that she is a Southie and that she is here tonight. And so I am going to let Miss Kaufman introduce our kiddos.
Is it okay if I hold it? Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Emily Kaufman. It is my pleasure being the music teacher at South Elementary. I love what I do, so it is a dream come true. I'm going to let my friends introduce themselves to you, and then we have a special little song for you.
My name is Nolan.
My name is Athen.
My name is Audrey.
My name is Amelia.
My name is Julie.
My name is Emma Sue.
My name's Colton.
My name's Adelie. My name's Sophia.
Gotcha.
I think I shared it with you.
This one does. Yay! Yes.
Catch my eye, take my hand. This bond is tighter than we ever planned. Give me courage so I can land. We know that divided will fall, so together we stand. Hang with me, share my dreams. Tomorrow's brighter than it's ever been. Fear no danger, make big plans. We know that divided will fall, so together we stand. Rest your head, tell me your thoughts. Everything I have and call mine is all yours. Sail that ocean, find that sand. We know that divided will fall, so together we stand. Being a friend is kind, a friend is neat, a friend is fun and always sweet.
If you're sad or if you're glad, a friend is there to lend a hand.
So if you need a friend to play, be a friend back, that's the way.
Once again, thank you so much. This has been a great opportunity, and I so apologize for the technical difficulties. I even double checked with Dan Ortega and said, you can play both videos, and he said yes. So I'm not sure what failed tonight, but I apologize. I will say, though, in addition to that, there's several more slides. If you'll scroll through, maybe when you have time, there's just some more pictures that were shared with each grade level, so you can see all the amazing things that's been going on at South. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Beautiful. Together we stand. Perfect. Well worth the wait. Right, we'll continue on with the board meeting now. We have request of district patrons. Mr. William Downey, please.
Evening. Since I don't want to be a downer starting, I want to thank you guys for all your time you put on the board. I know it takes a lot of your time and appreciate that. I'm addressing particularly the public participation at board meetings, the policy, and I do read the policies. So, and this is no criticism of the present superintendent, but it's about the policy. And this is in reference to the written correspondence may be directed to the board through the superintendent for consideration at a meeting. Copies of all correspondence should be available to all board members. But, you know, and then next on that, it says, any member of the public who wishes to have an item placed on the agenda will be present, will present the request in writing to the superintendent or designee. This seems like a consolidation of power. And we see this in a lot of school board policies coming up or coming down from higher ups like the MSDA and things that DESE wants to put out and stuff, that they want to consolidate a lot more power within the superintendent. And I think they're taking power away from the governance of the school board. And I think this is a very dangerous thing, that someone can't go directly to the school board. And I request a change of this policy. You know, this originally policy was made in 2008. Things change. We just think, looking through all these policies coming up, that we're seeing a consolidation of power and use of the superintendent's time that she may not have or he may not have, that really the school board should be addressing directly. And along that lines, I would like to address an event that happened at the last school board meeting, October 19th, where a patron was expelled, Mrs. Hill. And you know, we have a tradition in the United States throughout.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This public comment needs to be associated with an agenda item.
Well, it's under, I kind of feel it goes under the public participation at board meetings. And I would like to ask you to give me a little leeway on this. It's important.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Because we think some wrongs were done last week. And it may be a little bit of inexperience in the board in these matters because, you know, in past board meetings, it's been very congenial, you know, and we've had nice people out here, you know, and this particular person has said things before at meetings out loud, which even I think was a little too much. But in our tradition of public meetings in the United States, we should have the ability to maybe say, oh, or ah, or that's terrible, or that's good. You know, we clap at these things, you know. Is that going to be disallowed if somebody doesn't like the particular type of clapping? And some of the things that happened last week when Mrs. Hill was taken out was you had 3 violations of your own procedure here. It says here, if a patron interrupts or shouts out during a business or board meeting, the president should stop the meeting and state to the patron that they are out of order. This was not done. If the patron continues, the president can ask the person to leave the meeting. This was not done. If the patron does not leave and continues, the president shall call for a recess, instruct the SRO to remove the individual, which was done. The full board will walk out of the room at the time. The SRO on duty will escort the person out of the building, and this was not done. Also, these were 3 violations of your own procedures, and you can even say there was a 4th because the last outburst was not done by Mrs. Hill.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Downey.
You got the wrong person.
Thank you. Next we have, moving on to informational items. And none of those for tonight. Let me see here. Let me click on that. All right, we're just moving on to superintendent's report and legislative issues. And we have our MSBA report. Patty Quisenberry.
I just want to talk about the annual conference that we just finished up on a couple of weeks ago. This was in cooperation with MSBA, MASA, and MOAS in Kansas City. The conference was a huge success with the record attendance. We believe about 1,500 were in attendance. I want to give a big thank you to all those that attended. We had 6 board members, several administrators. I counted 7, but there may have been more than that. And we had our SRO, Captain Deeds, there, and Erica Fulbright, our secretary, was there. So I was so proud of Ozark, how we were so well represented at the state level. I want to take the time to give a special thanks to Captain Mark Deeds, Dr. Kim Fitzpatrick, and Dr. Jeremy Brownfield. They worked with me to present at a session on swatting, lessons learned. This was a issue that happened last March when the high school was swatted. The panel, we gave some great information. There was a lot of good discussion and a lot of questions asked, but I want to thank Dr. Fitzpatrick for helping pull this together, the presentation, and for Dr. Brownfield and Captain Deeds. Thank you so much for being there to do that. I also want to give a big shout out to our students from the Ozark High School Educator Rising organization, which is part of Grow Your Own Teachers. They took part in the student showcase. I was so proud of them. And I want to thank the sponsors, Mrs. Amy Sappington and Mrs. Trista Hilton. Thank you so much for that. And you might express that we were so proud of Ozark that day. I am excited to inform you that I did enter the Scholastic My Favorite Book Drive, and I dropped off 2 books. I found out I was the first one to drop off books. I received 2 raffle tickets at that time. And on Saturday, my number was randomly chose. It was drawn out. There were 6 schools that were going to win. I was the 6th ticket pulled, and I won 500 K through kindergarten through 3rd grade books for Ozark schools. The books have arrived. There were several boxes of them. We went through them, was that Monday or Tuesday? We are in the process right now of sorting those books and approving those books, reading through and approving those books. At that time, when that's complete, they will be donated to our elementary schools, hopefully before Christmas, so they get Christmas presents. I would also like to ask my fellow board members if they would share what their greatest takeaway was from the conference, if you want to.
I'll go first. I went to the President's Workshop and it was great. We had a mock board meeting put on by the MSBA administration. And so they had a mock board meeting with Robert's Rules of Order. And it was great to talk with the other presidents of other schools. And we're facing some of the same challenges they are, and they're facing the same challenges we are, and growth is happening, and lots of great things happening in our public schools. It was wonderful to come together and learn from other board members. So thank you for sending us to that. And it was great to be together as a board as well. I enjoyed that time.
Go ahead, Christina.
I thought an interesting part was getting to hear different perspectives, the different way people look at different topics. For example, at the lunch, the special speaker at the lunch, who was about 12 years old, right? So, I mean, I'm just joking, but the older I get, the younger people look, right? She's like some expert in something, but she's talking about AI. So as an educator, you know, at a couple of college campuses, we're like dealing with how are we going to handle all the challenges with helping the students really honestly learn the most, you know, all of the things involved with that. And I kind of expected her to talk about that because there've been lots of those kind of workshops and seminars. She was like excited, you know, if you could have an assistant beside you and I mean, it was just interesting to hear the different perspectives. So, I mean, that's just one example of different perspectives.
Come on, Guy.
Anyone else?
I can see it.
I mean, I was trying to think of one thing to say because I went to a lot of different sessions on from communicating with the public. Robert's Rules of Order and Parliamentary Procedure was a really great session that I went to, but really getting to meet and network with some other school board members and just understand some of the challenges that are happening there and what's going on in their world was really interesting, and some great conversations sitting down with, you know, I felt like I was sitting amongst, I think there are 4 superintendents, and sitting there talking, you know, hearing their conversations was a lot of fun too. So.
Amber, do you have anything?
No, I mean, it was very nice. I know, I don't know where my pen is or my diploma, but I did do all of it. I thought it was really interesting as well. They have a lot of different classes. I think I really liked the one that was taught by that parliamentarian. She's one of only 5 in the country that has that, was an attorney and a parliamentarian. So that was very interesting. And I have to say, I was so proud of the presentation that Captain Deeds and Kim and Brownfield put on. It was really, really good. I was very proud of you guys.
How about the administrators? I don't want to take up too much time, but it looks like Lori's wanting to say something.
Actually wrote down the conferences because I wanted to mention that it's always a great conference, but when you can have the team go, you build relationships with everyone, and I think that's one of the most important aspects of this conference. And I can say I attended a session on finance, school swatting. Once again, thank you to the people in the room that put that together. You are so proud as a district to have anyone present at that level, but then to present on that situation and for other schools to learn. I mean, just it's unbelievable that they thought of things, or that we brought to the table things that they would never have thought about. And I'm so sorry that incident happened with us, but it was a learning experience for us, and hopefully it will help someone else.
And those other school board members said, thank you so much for telling us about. I mean, I heard several of them saying
you have to share your knowledge so that you can help all students in the state of Missouri. But then I also attended dialogue with the Board of Education. I attended a Missouri Association of School Administration's business meeting, and also a legal update. And so those were all great sessions.
I'm sorry, they're all wanting to say
it's really kind of the same thing in just two different sessions. It's always nice to go and hear other schools present how you're supposed to do things, and then you go down the checklist of Kyle's doing that, Kyle's doing that, Kyle's doing that. Oh, you missed this, but Kyle's doing that. But also we had a cybersecurity one, and that was great. But the insurance one, and we have had a lot of claims over this last year with junior high gym and some flooding at two buildings due to some frozen pipes, and just to hear that there were the dollar amount associated with those claims, to know that we're not isolated. That happened across the state, and this was one of their largest claim years ever. And how to recover, and the recovery part was where, again, it's like, that's exactly what we did. We had that in place. We've had that in place. And so it's just great to go down and hear so many of the things that our people are doing right. And it's everybody across the state that are experts are saying this is the way you should do it.
Yeah, agreed. I think the togetherness is always good to build that camaraderie. I thoroughly enjoyed the team who presented on swatting. I mean, they did a phenomenal job, and we have submitted to do it again at the spring conference for the state school administrators. There's so many superintendents who came up afterwards and said, hey, this was a super session. We've learned something. We've taken down notes. So we've asked to present at the other conference, so I'm hoping we'll get chosen to do that. We have good things that we've learned that we definitely want to share. I think I went to a couple of budget sessions, and one was on compensation theory. So how you pay your people, how do all the pay schedules really match your values? And it was great learning. It was good things to think about. And I enjoyed John Quinones. You did a great job introducing him. Said his name correctly. Yes. And but I enjoyed what he had to say in regard to just we have to. What would you do? You have to be ethical all the time, and if somebody's looking or not, you have to be a person of character. And I enjoyed some of those pieces he was bringing. Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you, Patty. Anything
Thank you,
else?
Madam President.
Thank you. And let's see here. Next, we have Superintendent's Report Legislative Update. Dr. Wilson.
So really quickly, we did speak to Lynn Morse at the long range planning meeting, and we talked a little bit about Senate Bill 190. They are learning more at a state level and plan to vote on that soon, just to give you an update on that. But I wanted to give you a quick update on, we belong to the Missouri Association of School Administrators, and they always have their educational priorities. And I just wanted to give you what their 4 priorities are for this year. First, it is prioritizing the recruitment and retention of teachers and support staff. That was their number 1. Get and retain teachers. The next one is prioritizing funding for public education. And mainly, or a big part of that is trying to increase the SAT. The next one is refocus priorities on public education. And so basically what that is that some of our money from public funding is being diverted to vouchers or to charter schools. So they're wanting to try to refocus that on public education. And then the last one is reforming current assessment and accreditation system. So I just wanted to give you an update on what the 4 main priorities for the Missouri Association of School Administrators are.
Thank you. All right, any comments on that, board? Okay. All right. Next, we'll move on to our assistant superintendent's reports. Are there any comments or questions on the reports are attached here. Any discussion? Next, we have future dates. Let's see here. Town hall meeting Thursday, December 7th here at the OIC. And then we have Thanksgiving break, of course, November 22nd through the 24th. Long-range planning, the 2nd, December 12th at 6:30 to 8 at West Elementary. We had our first one 2 nights ago. It was wonderful. We had over 100 people or so. So thank you, Dr. Chesick and staff, for coordinating that. That was great to hear the demographic study and so on. And the next date would be the middle school walkthrough on December 13th, 9 a.m. And then long-range planning on January 16th at the middle school. Next, we need
President, can I share one more date?
Yes,
And
please.
some of you may want to write it down. It's not a board date, but it is on December the 6th from 5:30 to 6:30. We are going to have a curriculum conversation, and it's going to be, how do I help my student? So it's from a parent perspective and some of the resources they can take advantage of here at the school. And if you remember on our communication survey earlier this year that we sent out to our community, outside of safety and security, the second thing was curriculum. The community would like to know more about curriculum. So it's our first, we didn't do anything controversial this first meeting. We just wanted to get the two-way conversation started. And then we'll just have those regularly just from this year on. But this one will be at here in the OIC. It'll be on December 6th, and it's just for an hour. And it's just a two-way conversation about how I can help my student.
That is super. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you.
And you're welcome to attend, and hopefully the public will attend.
Great. Next, we have approval of the consent agenda.
President, I would like to
So,
remove
let's see.
item O.
Oh, sure. Yes, first. Okay.
Item O, the community engagement plan. I'd like to pull that one.
Okay, are there, so in order to streamline efficiency, are there any clarifying questions you can ask to keep it
No, I'm
all?
pulling it from the consent so we can discuss it. Is that what you mean? No, I wanted us to discuss it. I have several things to talk
Yeah,
about.
do you have some clarifying questions we can answer so that we can keep the consent agenda intact?
I don't guess I know what you're asking me.
No questions, so.
No, because I don't want to vote the same on this one as the other one. I want us to discuss it
Could we, yep,
right now. We can discuss
yes,
it
go
right
ahead and
now.
ask your question.
So
Yep.
we're going to discuss it
Sure.
before we do the
Yep.
consent agenda.
Yep.
So I'm looking at item O, rules, approve the community engagement plan. I know this was a requirement of the state law that they passed 2 years ago, that we do this by July. And I don't feel like we ever did it. It's the state law required, and it says kind of on here, that we include and incorporate and solicit communication from the public about this plan, about how this plan should be developed. And I don't feel like we did that. It seems to me like we just said, let's see if we can think of some things that are ways we communicate with the public, which is, I mean, that's good to have them listed, but I don't think that was the intent of the law for developing this policy for how the community should be engaged with the board. And it kind of goes along with the rules of decorum that we started to talk about earlier. It's funny that the patron spoke about those 3 things, because those were 3 things I was going to bring up about when we developed that rules for decorum. We were very, very careful about the things we included in it. And there are 3 steps that should have been followed. And I agree, during a business meeting, there needs to be minimal noise from the audience. But does that mean there are several different clarification questions I've received from people, and even I had them myself? Does that mean they can't talk to each other? Does that mean they get escorted out without any kind of investigation if they were the people making the noise? We said we were going to tell them first to stop talking, like we didn't do those things in there. No, we didn't actually. She did that first one. She did the first one. The second thing, though, was not done, where she asked the person to leave herself. She did not. And we did not. I should have just been quiet during the last meeting. I dislike that very much that I interrupted, because our president should have been the one talking. But she should have said to the patron, we've asked you to be quiet. I'm sorry that you're not able to do that. We're gonna have to ask you to leave if you can't. She never get that warning. And then she never got the third thing saying, could you leave? And it wasn't even the same person. But so those kinds of things are involved in this community engagement. Like somebody has a policy they want to suggest, or they have an agenda item they want, that should be filtered through the superintendent versus sent directly to the board. Those kinds of things, we need to discuss that. We can't just put it on the consent agenda and say, this is it.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right.
That's why we need to pull that off the consent agenda, please, because I'm not opposed to the other things on the consent agenda, but I am opposed to this.
Okay, we'll pull off that item.
It's supposed to get pulled off just by request. As soon as anybody requested to be pulled
Okay.
off, Robert's Rules of Order say
Do we
it's
have
pulled
a,
off.
thank you. Do we have a motion for the rest of the consent agenda?
What? No, that was it.
Okay. Okay.
Minus
O. Okay. All right, motion by Guy to approve the consent agenda minus O, second by Amber. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Now we have to vote on item O, right?
Do I hear a motion on item O? Would someone like to make a motion to approve or amend or?
I'll make a motion to approve item O.
I'll second that.
Motion by Guy, second by Patty, all in favor?
Wait, I would like for there to be other
Sure,
discussion.
discussion, sure.
I discussed
Go
it
ahead.
a little bit, but I'd
Go
like
ahead,
to hear what
Christina.
the rest of
Go
you
ahead.
guys think about that. What do you think about that? We have a policy that the law says we're supposed to solicit community input to develop that policy. And I don't feel like we solicit. The law says we're supposed to solicit community input to develop this policy. And we did not solicit community input to develop this policy.
We did do a survey. They sent out a survey regarding all of that.
It did not say, how should this policy be developed? And there were 2 surveys sent at the same time, and only one of them was accessible on the website, and it was the superintendent one. It was very confusing. I'm sorry, but I would like to hear what the other people on the board think about.
If anyone else would like to wish to speak, please do. All right, I will take a vote. Okay.
Yeah,
Vote
I
stands.
mean, to this, I made a motion to
Yeah.
to prove it, so
Yeah.
I support it. But I know we spent time on this, and it was on the website for comment on the plan. I mean, I think we've taken care of and done, asked for feedback on it. And I don't know what else we would have done, at this point. So.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving item O, raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. And moving on, let's see here.
Could you say the vote, please?
I don't believe we're required to state that, but
Okay.
it just motion passes. Yep.
5-1.
I don't believe we have to say the number, but that's fine. Let's see here. All right, moving on to approval of the Board of Education open session minutes from October 19th. And do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Board of Education open session minutes from a previous meeting.
Motion by Patty,
Second.
second by Aaron. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval, raise your hand, please. Motion passes. Thank you. And let's see, next we have new business. We have approved registered youth apprenticeships agreement, Dr. Wilson, and I believe we have another speaker too, or Dr. Carson.
Yeah. So Lee Jennings is Director of Academy. She's going to come up and help present as well. And if you will click on the, I'm sorry, on the one on the left. There we go. Yep, that one. So we have been working on, when we were talking about our academies and we built our academies, at the end of each pathway, the goal is that students would be able to do some type of a capstone project that would give them a market value add, something that would fit in that diploma and that we've talked about for 8-9 years. And so it allows them to leave with the diploma and some kind of addition beyond just our high school walls. And so a registered youth apprenticeship was one of those goals that we had. And so we have the pieces in place, and I'm excited to present those to you tonight, and excited to tell you that we have already a business that's lined up to partner with us. And we have students who are already ready to partner with us. So we're really excited about registered youth apprentices in the Southwest Missouri area. I know of 2 programs, Bolivar, and I believe we would be the second. There are several schools that are on our heels. When they heard we were about to do it, I know of a couple that put it in fast track to beat us to the punch, which is kind of funny. But I am super proud of the work that our high school is doing to help our academies be very successful. And this is one of those pieces that we were wanting to get in place. So Mrs. Jennings, if you would want to explain registered youth apprenticeships, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Lee Jennings. I'm Director of Academies here at the OIC. So I'm very excited about this also. This happens to be Registered Youth Apprenticeship Week, just happened to coincide perfectly. So let me tell you a little bit about kind of where we would like to head with this. Like Dr. Carson mentioned, as part of our academies, we want to offer real-world learning experiences to students. And we sort of built our framework for academies on 3 pillars. The first one is culture, and that has to do with inside our school, making a big school feel small, and especially with the 2 campuses now, connecting our students to each other. Then connection is our second pillar in the academies, and that's connecting our students to outside the school walls. So these registered youth apprenticeships will help us accomplish that. We're doing things like field trips, guest speakers coming in. We go out to different speakers and events at times. And then that third piece of academies is the capstone, and that's the culminating experience. So when a student gets to the end of their pathway, they have learned almost as much as they possibly can as a high school student. We want to put them out in the community to do some self-directed work, to work with others in our community, and to explore their interests and their passions. So Ozark Academies at Work is our apprenticeship program that we would like to start. So what is a registered youth apprenticeship? Basically, it's combining on-the-job training with classroom instruction. So these students would be working side by side with our local business and industry partners, and they would be gaining hands-on technical experience and training in their chosen career. So these students, again, would go to an actual real-world business and work side by side. This is a dual role that apprenticeships take on. They prepare our students for a future career, but they also benefit our community because they're building a strong workforce within the community and within our businesses. So there are 3 different roles, 3 different parts of a registered youth apprenticeship. The sponsor is the school, and so I'll tell you about each one of these roles in just a minute. The next role is the partner, and that's the business. And then finally, the apprentice, that's our students. So the role for the school as a sponsor, we manage the program for all of our registered apprenticeships within our organization. So any student that we send out on an apprenticeship, we manage that program. That means checking in with them, checking in with the employer, doing some paperwork. There's always paperwork, it seems like, and just making sure that things are running smoothly. We also provide related instruction, and that means a classroom component. So I'm going to reference our culinary students in just a minute, and I'll tell you about the classroom instruction. So that's a very key role that the school takes on. And then we also monitor the progress of the apprentice. We check in with the business and with the student to make sure that everything is going smoothly. For the partner, the business, they provide that on-the-job training and the earn while you learn opportunities for the apprentices. These students, these apprentices, are employees of the business and industry, and that business has the responsibility for hiring, setting wages, setting work schedules, things like that. So the partner is the business. And then finally, the apprentice is our students. And our students have the opportunity to receive high school credit, and of course, they're on-the-job training for their future career. They are an employee of the partner, and they are able to earn a certificate at the end of this apprenticeship that they can take with them to another job in the future. They can take it nationally. Of course, we hope that they stay local and help our community. So there's 7 components of registered youth apprenticeships. I've touched on a few of them, but I'll go through these kind of quickly. They are industry-led. We're not forcing businesses to take students that they don't want. These are led by the needs of our local businesses. And by local, I mean Ozark and Christian County, maybe up the road to Springfield as well. Registered youth apprenticeships also provide access to students. So we know that there are lots of scholarships, and A+ program is one great scholarship. Some students don't want to go to college, and some students, frankly, don't even have the financial resources for living expenses while they're getting free college. So again, registered youth apprenticeships are paid. So this provides a paid training program for these students. They receive on-the-job learning, so they're right there at the site. They are working side by side with these industry and business leaders. The supplemental education, this is what I touched on just a second ago. So we currently have some culinary interns at Finley Farms at the Mill Restaurant. We have 4 of them, 2 on 2 days out of the week and 2 on the other 2 days. So if you go for lunch, you might be eating some food that they prepared. One key component of registered youth apprenticeships is this supplemental education. So we're not throwing our students out to these businesses untrained and with no support. Our students are going to be receiving instruction and training here at the high school as well. So it's not only Finley Farms, it's not only some other businesses' responsibility to educate our students. We're taking on that role too. And so in culinary, they're following the ProStart curriculum with Chef Watts, just right across the wall here.
And so can I interrupt one
yes,
sec?
absolutely.
So I think an important part of this is there's a list of competencies. And so the business and the school partner on that list of competencies. And so the business knows the experiences this student is receiving needs to actually answer these kinds of competencies. So when they leave, the business has held up their end of teaching specific skills that a student will need in life. And the school, with the supplemental education, is also teaching side by side with that, and we're adding our own set of competencies. So now you're getting learning from 2 different angles, one from real world learning out in the business and one from the school setting.
And we can customize those standards, those tasks that we want students to learn. So for example, if we had culinary students at a restaurant that did not do their on-site baking themselves, we could take those competencies off. So that's one role of the sponsor, the school, is to work with the business, the partner, and the school to make sure that we're meeting the right needs of the student and the business. It is a paid job. That is one requirement of registered youth apprenticeships, that our students are paid. The employer sets that rate, we don't. But another requirement is that there is a wage progression. So the students know where they will be in 6 months, where they will be in 12 months, and where they'll be at the end of the apprenticeship. Quality and safety, again, they are the actual employees of the business, so they would go through training and onboarding like any other employee. They would also be covered by that business's insurance. And then finally, that nationally recognized credential I already mentioned. They have a certificate that they can take with them to the next job, to the future, whatever it may be for them. I've already kind of talked about the benefits, but the students, they receive that structured on-the-job training, a path to advancement, and of course they receive high school credit and release time. So the students that we have right now are using 2 blocks of their time at school, so 3 hours every other day, and they're receiving high school credit, and they're also being paid for working at this business. The local employers, they benefit from qualified and well-trained employees, and that's what we hear all the time. It's very, very difficult for businesses to find trained employees these days. And then finally, the registered youth apprenticeships, they bring that real-world experience to the schools. So that legitimacy that what we're teaching in our school is applicable to the real world right outside our doors. We also have some district benefits with MSEP points, which is an added bonus, and our students are earning those market value assets, credentials, and then also that certificate that they can take with them. So when we've been looking at opportunities of where we can place our kids, these are 2 of our students. Jeffrey is on the left in the black, and Bryce is on the right. They are 2 of our student interns right now. They're interns. We haven't formally made any registered youth apprenticeship agreements, but they're working at Finley Farms. Jeffrey is a senior, and he does want to continue on at the Mill Restaurant, and they want to keep him. And then Bryce is a junior, so he could probably finish an apprenticeship before he graduates from high school. So that's really, really special for him. But some of the other employers in our area that we might want to form partnerships would be banks, manufacturing, ag-related businesses, construction, and the auto dealerships and service. But we, Ozark Schools, is the largest employer in the city of Ozark, I believe.
Yep.
I looked
Christian
that up.
County. Yes, in Christian County. Yeah.
Oh, Christian County even. So we could form a dual role of being a sponsor and also being the partner, the business. And, you know, just thinking about our own programs, we have possibilities for teacher aides with our education and training pathway, technology with our computer tech and programming, maintenance and grounds. We have lots of ag and construction students. And then we also have an athletic training internship class right now. So we could possibly talk to Cox about a partnership with them. So lots and lots of possibilities out there. We start small with 2 to 4, and we'd like to see this grow in the future.
Yeah, so with that, having this agreement would allow the operations to look long-term and say, can we keep this person on and work throughout the year and actually build this internship and based on what they're already doing. So he started the partnerships a long time ago. With this agreement, it allows them to get classroom credit and allows them to be this registered youth apprentice. So we are asking, well, first, any questions from the board for either Mrs. Jennings or myself?
I just have a comment. I think it's a perfect timing for this, it seems. I mean, just with the labor shortage and just grow your own. And I mean, it's just, And I like the word wages, and I like the word.
So do their parents.
The students enjoyed the wage progression, that they learned that they would be getting raises regularly. They enjoyed that.
And it really fits the governor's plan on how to increase business and manufacturing and all those pieces. It fits in really nice with the governor's plan that he's laid out. So, yeah, I think timing is perfect. Any other questions?
And so it's the recommendation for the Board of Education to approve students' ability to take part in registered youth apprenticeships as defined by the RYA standards through the U.S. Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeships.
I'll make that motion to for this recommendation to approve.
We have a motion by Patty, second by Aaron. Any other discussion at this time? Thank you both. We'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion? Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you so much, Ms. Jennings and Dr. Carson.
Thank you guys. This is
you all.
super
It's very
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have MSBA policies, first read. Dr. Wilson.
At this point, I'm just asking for a first read. I sent those to you a few weeks ago so that you begin to read it and to do any research. If over the next month, if you have questions that I need to answer or to find more information for you, please send me that and I will get it to you.
I'd like to say I really appreciate you offering to meet with each board member before each board meeting. The volume of information is so huge, and it's 2 hours is not enough time to take it all in. So we appreciate you meeting with each board member individually and the other administration, and appreciate the board taking advantage of that too, because it gives us time to learn and to ask questions. So
thank you.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate having these policies on the agenda this month so we can look at them, talk with the community about them, prepare comments, have an informed discussion next month. We're not discussing any this month, though. We're just
the first read, and next month you'll have a discussion. And next
Thank
month
you.
you'll approve or disapprove.
All right.
Yes, with the discussion, yes.
Any questions on that? Okay. Next, we have Executive Director of Human Resources, job description. I have a motion. The recommended motion is to approve the job description for the Executive Director of Human Resources. Would someone like to make that motion?
I would like to move that we table this one because there are a couple different ideas that need to be discussed about it.
Would you like to make a motion to
Can we not discuss them now?
if a motion and then
If you want
second
to.
we can discuss?
I'd like to discuss it too.
Yeah, we can discuss after a motion and a second if you want to.
I made a motion to table it, but we might discuss now. So
I don't, so.
are
she
you,
has to
are
have a
you
second.
moving? Yeah, I need to have a second. We might not.
We could table
We
it
should have
after
a
we talk
motion.
about it. We had talked about making. Yeah. Sure. Would you, oh, sure, yes, go ahead. Yeah. Motion to table.
Right.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Yes.
Accept it.
And I need a second in order to discuss, correct?
It's not a motion to discuss, it's
Okay.
just to accept it or not. And then
don't
we
wanna vote
discuss
to
after the
approve it 'cause
motion.
I
No, we're
wanna
not
have-
voting. We're
okay.
just, we wanted to make motions and then discuss, I thought, but we can do it however y'all want to.
I do appreciate you.
Yeah.
I know we have had lengthy discussion about this, but I do have one. So today I did a little research on this, and I would suggest that we change the 5 to 10 years to a minimum of 7 or 8 to 10 years to get somebody at the executive level. So I did a quick search for for HR positions. Looks like I'm looking for a job, but and most of them at that level are that's what's out there. I've had 12. I mean, it's possible you're going to find somebody who has that. I would suggest number 3. I would suggest item 3 moves to either 7 or 8 for the minimum number through 10 years of experience, number one. That's the first thing I'd like. And then I know we talked about reports to superintendent, and then you have assistant superintendent, like the CFO. I think that should be or. I think you need to decide who you want it to report to, because that should be very clear and it should be one person.
And I think it should be reports to the board rather than the superintendent or the assistant superintendent. That leaves them independent of the
No,
superintendent.
well, the only person who reports to the board is the superintendent.
Well, so far, but we might decide this one.
I'm pretty
reports to
sure
the
it's
board.
Missouri
It's
statute.
not statute.
Well, it says something in there about what the superintendent's role is over all of, I mean, like, I really think that would be a terrible idea. I think it needs to report to, I agree, I think it needs to report to the superintendent.
Okay. Many successful corporations have a couple of different direct reports from their vice presidents, especially the HR department. That way the CEO is not part of the chain of command, and the HR can be free in their reports.
Reporting to the superintendent makes them free of all other reports. And if, I mean, they're not the superintendent's boss, the board is the superintendent's boss. They would be over everybody else and report to the superintendent. Well, I will respectfully agree or disagree on that.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree that they should report to the superintendent. You know, that's breaking it. Yeah, or I mean, should report. I mean, if it's, I think however that.
Private corporation and I mean, I think it would be appropriate for the CFO or the superintendent. I just think you should probably decide.
Yes,
which one
I
you want.
agree. We should have clarity there, but I don't think they should report directly to the board. Just want to make sure.
Okay. I would be prepared to move forward on this because I do think your search may take a bit. Although I think you'll get some, I'm very excited for this one. I really am.
Yeah, great.
The HR would report directly to the superintendent.
It's just a dangerous thing. It works fine if it's a healthy organization for everything to be filtered through one person, but it's just a dangerous thing for a large corporation, the largest one in the county, to have every piece of information to the board of directors filtered through only one person. Didn't we just say that? The largest employer in the, whatever you want to call it, Patty.
Superintendent is not doing a good job or is unethical. That's our problem.
And how will we find that out if there's
That's
no
what
one?
we should know.
If there's no one that reports to us except for the superintendent?
That's what we should know. That's why we have all of these other things set up.
What things are those?
We have all of these different ways that people can contact us.
Like
all of
what?
them,
They
like
all
an
filter
email.
through the superintendent. That
They don't have to.
centralization of power just tends to corruption. And not in a healthy organization, no, but it lends itself to that. Even if you have the best person as the one person in charge, that's a dangerous idea. That's not the way our society is built.
I mean, if we want to talk about corruption, I mean, going to that level or those issues, when we break the veil, the school boards and everywhere I know, and I checked with another large school district that has an HR director, there's reports to their superintendent. But if you break that veil and you had somebody else reporting to us, that's a sidestep around the, for all things, that creates another problem that could create other corruption as well. You could create issues where they're not bringing it through their proper chain of command. If it was through employees bringing it, or however those things are done, it breaks the veil of the way the organization and school districts are set up and run at this point.
I'm not trying to argue. I really do want to understand, but I've learned from other corporations that, I mean, that's one important thing, and that's an important thing in our country, not to have one person in charge of everything. That's why we have a board of directors. Even our MSBA training back in May, even Terrence, maybe I should, even he said, there are times when There needs to be an appeal about the superintendent even. There needs to be a chance for people to come to the board. They need to be able to come to the board through the HR and say, you know what, this I'm having this problem with this administrator, or there needs to be an option besides just one person. And I'm not saying that we have corruption. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that centralization of power tends toward that, leads toward that.
To address that, I think that would have to be addressed in policy and how we direct the superintendent to handle those things. I don't think that you sidestep them by having another person report here. Does that make sense?
Well, and I'm going to speak a little for you, Christina, because I don't agree, but I think you're trying to say that the worry is not with them. Your worry is not with employees. Your worry is more the superintendent controlling too much and not bringing it to us. But our job as the board is to be overseeing the superintendent, not overseeing somebody else who, that just messes up, the process of. We have a superintendent evaluation.
How do we oversee the superintendent?
We hire them, we fire them, we
ask
do the
them, are you
annual
meeting your goals? Are you doing a good job? We ask them. There needs to be another person to come to us to let us know about things that are going on. If there were.
We do have a formal superintendent evaluation process.
That's what I was going at. Which we haven't, being new to the board, we have not been through that at this point, but there are
We've
levels
seen
to
it.
this, yeah.
I would make a motion that we approve this job description with the two, but we do need to decide what number we're going to put as the minimum year, but otherwise I would move that we approve it with those changes. My suggestion would be to make it directly to the superintendent, just because it's a brand new role, and I think it should be have a direct line to you, or whoever that may be.
Right. Go ahead and make a suggestion for the minimum year.
I'd say 8.
I do worry, and because I haven't looked yet, we have not set this out. I do worry that will I have enough applicants or the right applicants if I say 8 years? I worry that's high, but I
I'm
don't
worried
know
that
that.
somebody with 5 isn't going to be able to do the job. I don't think they're going to be strong enough. Get anybody qualified,
come back.
come back to the table.
I'm good with that. Hey, we need this position.
Yes.
We need this position.
Yeah.
And that is, I am totally agreeable that that is a great starting point.
All right. Would you like to make that motion?
I move that we approve the Human Resources Executive Director job description as posted with the 2 changes, with number 3 being a minimum of 8 and taking out the part only having it report to the superintendent. That would be my suggestion.
And I second it.
Thank you. We have a motion by Amber and a second by Aaron. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Great starting point. You're right. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the bond resolution. Would you all like to make a motion first and then discuss, or discuss before the motion? Patty?
Well, really, you're supposed to make the motion second and then have discussion. Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the bond resolution that authorizes the district to issue the bonds, assuming the final pricing meets the parameters set forth in section 202.
We have a motion by Patty. And we need a...
I'll second it.
And a second by Guy. And now we'll have our discussion. Thank you.
It might be that I just didn't see it, but can anyone tell me what are the interest rates? What's the current interest rate and what's the proposed new interest rate?
I
'Cause
have
didn't
I have
find it.
Joe on Zoom.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Hi, Joe.
Joe, can you hear us?
I can hear you all. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, yes. Okay.
Loud and clear.
Is there good? Is there a chance that I could share my screen? Is that something you can unlock so we can walk through these numbers? Okay, hopefully you all are seeing a document that has debt service to maturity and to call in front of you. Is everyone seeing that?
Can you throw it up on the big screen? There it is.
All right. So we're here to talk. I know we've been doing a lot of different financings, and we're here to talk about your general obligation debt a little bit, and wanted to give you all some background on the mechanics of bonds and how these refinancings work, just kind of as a refresher and get you started. So first of all, when we talk about your debt, your general obligation debt, now we have your lease debt, which we've done some with the performance contract and some of the improvements you're doing that way, which is operational dollars. Now we're back over here talking about your debt service levy, your dedicated Fund 3 that can only be used to pay bricks and mortar debt. When we go out and issue bonds, we issue bonds kind of in a regular basis, or we being you all, most school districts across the state that have a debt service levy it in a way that allows them on a regular basis to go back out and issue additional debt. So at any given time, you have multiple issues outstanding. In the case of Ozark, you have 8 different bond issues outstanding, and those 8 different bond issues we like to think of as one common plan of finance. So when we talk about your debt, we're talking about a single issue in this case that we're looking to refinance. But your debt as a whole, we look at as one common plan of finance, like your home mortgage or like a car loan. We're not looking at these as all separate entities that we're just layering on top of each other. And part of that has to do with the idea or the notion of a no tax rate increase in the state of Missouri. But at any rate, you're amortizing, between $2.8 and $3 million for the principal for the next 5 years. That jumps a little bit to $3.5 to $5 million over the next, 5 or 6 years after that, and then jumps a little bit again. And so, you are amortizing principal every single year. We do have your payments growing slightly. What the idea is that your payments grow less than hopefully your assessed value grows. And that additional growth on your assessed value allows you to go out and capitalize on incremental gains in revenues in your debt service fund to be able to issue what we call no tax rate increase bond issues, or extensions of your levy, so that we don't have to increase the amount and rate at which people pay in a given year, or should you decide to do a no tax rate issue, increase bond issue. Now, when we go out and issue your bonds, and I know you all know this, we break that up into $5,000 increments and sell that off in auction to the people willing to pay the highest price, which for you all means the lowest yield. So even on a deal this size of a $10 million deal that done in 2016, we would have sold that off in $5,000 increments to whoever's willing to pay the highest price. That's our job. Our job is to make sure you're accessing capital at the lowest possible rates. If people are buying those bonds to trade them, and it does happen, that means we've missed the mark, but market movement can change, things can happen, adjustments can be made. But when we go out and then issue those bonds and create them, we put into those bonds essentially a lockout period where you are not eligible to refinance those by paying principal only, so that you do have a period of time over which you are obligated to pay both the principal and interest, and you cannot avoid that interest cost. I know that is not the way your mortgage is, but your mortgage is done that way by federal law. And that's one of the reasons closing costs are so high on mortgages, because if the rates drop tomorrow, you can go right back in and refinance tomorrow. The problem with that for school districts and bonds, when we're asking people to commit capital to large issues, it's very important that we find, again, that highest price, lowest yield for you all. And in order to do that, in order to find people that want to buy and hold your bonds, that means that they're paying the highest price. We have got to guarantee them a return on their investment over time. That is strictly market driven. That has nothing to do with us. We do have some flexibility. When I started in this business almost 20 years ago, you had to do a 10-year, what we call optional redemption. So in other words, you had to guarantee investors a 10-year return on their investment in order to get bonds issued out 11 years and longer. In this case, we are looking at actually an 8-year call. So these are eligible to be refinanced as soon as March 1st. you can refinance in advance of the March 1st date up to 90 days and use your tax exempt bond issuance status. We cannot, if we go out longer than 90 days before that call date, we have to do that on a taxable basis under current federal tax law, which I think we've talked about this before, but if you think about where investors want their return on their investment for those investments that they have to pay income tax on versus a school in Missouri who can issue their debt at, no federal income tax is paid and no state income tax is paid by those investors. And so as a result, they're willing to accept this lower rate of return. So you're able to access capital at a lower rate of return and not do those taxable, as well as you have to have 2 issues outstanding at the time. And so there's an issue with arbitrage because we create 2 issues. Anyway, what we're looking to do here on the 2016 issue is price this within the 90-day window to use your tax exempt status. One thing that's interesting is we were setting this up to be able to do this as soon as possible. We have to close, the 90-day window opens on December 1st. So we've got to close this bond issue after the 1st of December. We've got investors that really would like to see no more than 2 or 3 weeks between pricing and closing. So we need to be pricing this in late November. We were setting you all up to be able to do that quite well. We've actually moved the timeline forward. That has a lot to do. I know you saw that memo with interest rates going down over the last week and a half, particularly have been aggressively going down, which has been increasing the savings for you all. So we have this idea of these optional redemption provisions, which are designed specifically to make sure that you're accessing capital markets at the lowest possible interest rate by finding those end buyers, those buyers who want to buy and hold your debt over 20 years. But what we do when we issue is we try to make sure that we've kind of laddered out your call provisions over time. So you've got issues right now, the 2016 issue is callable this March. Then you've got another one coming up in March of 27. You've got another one following that in March of 28. Then you've got March of 31, March of 32, and then actually September of 32. So we've got kind of these regular intervals that you can go in and refinance or restructure your debt to tailor it to what the goals of that board are at that time and what separate objectives you're trying to accomplish depending on what you're doing. When we go in and do these refinancings, oftentimes as market rates are going up, which they have here recently, we're essentially just bending over and picking up pennies. And I'm about to show you that, we've gone from 300,000 in savings to closer to $1 million, over $900,000 in savings. And 900,000 sounds like a great deal, and it is a great deal. But for the Ozark School District, over a 12-year period, saving $900,000 is bending over and picking up pennies. But as a former partner of mine, Greg Bricker, used to say all the time, and I listen to him, we'll bend over and pick up pennies all day long, especially when it comes to public penny dollars. So the idea here is that we're looking to go ahead and refinance that 2016 issue as soon as it's eligible to be refinanced. And in fact, we're positioning you to get into the market at quite literally the first moment that you're able to do that. We priced a refinancing on Monday, we priced one yesterday, and we priced one on Tuesday. So we plan to come back on Monday. Even though it's a holiday week, we've got a lot of investor demand. So this parameters resolution is going to allow us to price that within those parameters, as you mentioned. So now I'll get to what you see on your screens. So this page, debt service to maturity and call, you don't care a whole lot about what that means, but the columns in the center, the principal and coupon columns, are showing you the principal amounts and the interest the interest rate at which you are paying on those bonds. And going back to 2016, again, your bonds would have been issued at a bond premium, which is how we do, or how previous boards have chosen to do all of your recent bond issues. And that is with the idea that you are constantly chasing body capacity. So the state caps your ability to go out and issue debt in any given year to 15% of your assessed value. You can have no more than 15% of your assessed value outstanding in general obligation debt at any given time. And the only way that we can recoup that bonding capacity is by paying off debt, which you're doing at about a $3 million a year clip, as we mentioned, or by growth in your assessed value, because every $1 million you grow is $150,000 of bonding capacity. Currently, prior to yesterday and the market continuing to drop, we were looking at only refinancing those bonds you see maturing March 1st of 32 down to March 1st of 36, starting with a $1.5 million principal payment and ending with a $2 million principal payment. Those are sitting at 5%. And again, that would have been above market rates at the time, but that was done as a reminder, we cannot control yields. So the yield that you get on your bonds, that auction rate that we talked about, getting that highest price, we have no control over. But we and the board, through the board, we can control what interest rate you agree to pay. And if we pay interest rates or coupon rates that we call them above bond yields, the result of that is that investors pay above face value for those bonds. And that is strictly a mathematical calculation to make the present value the exact same. We're taking into account the time value of money over time. We're trying to make that exactly the same. But at the time in 2016, this $10 million issue would have netted you close to $12 million in capacity or in actual cash on hand to do projects. And so this was done as you are chasing body capacity and trying to get projects done as quickly as you can for those kiddos to have those spaces to work in and learn in. We are trying to make sure we're optimizing the amount of money that you have on hand. And as a result, you've been paying above market interest rates, but that is again, a baseline. You still would have paid the bond yield or the true interest cost based on the actual yields that you got. So we're essentially looking at more like a $12 million borrowing that we're able to come back and refinance. One thing that premium bonds do besides give you access to additional capital when you issue bonds and also increase the likelihood that you are to refinance those bonds. But the premium bonds also allow us some flexibility within state law in Missouri, which most issuers find advantageous. And state law in Missouri requires that we lower your interest rate. So we can save money or we cannot save money when we're restructuring, but we have to lower interest rates. So you can see a problem where if we hit a recessionary event and we have been issuing for 12 years all of our debt at less than 2%, we would have no ability to refinance or restructure debt as a school board. You would not have any. I can't go in and do it for you to try to avoid increasing taxes. Now, we have designed your levy so that quite literally you have to have 2 consecutive Great Recession events to even consider having to increase your levy. But we still like to preserve and protect that ability, right? We live and breathe in Missouri on the no tax rate increase bond issues. I think you've heard me say this before. I don't particularly like the idea of just an extension of the levy. You know, there are other states where this is a zero-based fund and, you know, we're able to just every issue that we have is a tax increase. And so people kind of get used to that. Our levy will trail off and then we'll ask for more. And our levy will trail off and we'll ask for more. Not the way that it works in Missouri. And so we design your levy very specifically to insulate against having to raise those rates. But we still like to have that optionality and that flexibility into the future to be able to move that debt around should we need to, and not have to raise taxes on our taxpayers. So 3 benefits to those premium bonds. And again, every time you go out and issue those, you'll have that optionality. You're going to see in a minute that we're proposing that you put a 5% coupon rate on your bonds again. So most of the savings that you will have within this issue itself are going to actually be in the form of reduced principal outstanding. And again, when we do refundings, we're operating under the same premise that we are trying to capitalize on and increase your capacity should you decide to go out and do a bond issue that allows you more freedom to do more projects. So by reducing the amount of principal you have outstanding from $10 million to what we're proposing right now based on rates and based on the most attractive structure to investors is to take that $10 million outstanding and reduce it to $9.165 million. So overnight, immediately, once this resolution, or if the resolution is enacted and we are able to meet the parameters on Monday, you will have somewhere around $850,000 of additional bonding capacity. Again, that is bending over, that's pennies to the Ozark School District, but that might get you another classroom in a project you're wanting to do. And so we want to chase that and capitalize on that when we can. Now, the other aspect to this that's a little bit different than our personal finances is that we have the ability to do what we call a maturity match. So we're not having, it's not like if you have 20 years left on your mortgage and rates have dropped and you've got to decide whether I want to do a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year mortgage. We can actually just go right in and do 20. If it's 19 and a half, we can do 19 and a half. So a couple stats. Again, this is on the debt as it stands right now before you've done anything. It's sitting at 4.75%. And it's sitting at 9.5 years on an average life. Don't ask me to redo those calculations. It's been 17 years since I've taken that test, but I think the 9.5 year average life is the present value expression of how long it takes you to pay off half of that debt, just for that particular issue. What we're looking at for the new bonds, find the yield statistics. Oh, did we not include them? Wonderful. We're looking at taking that down to just about 3.9%. So not quite a 1% drop in the actual interest rates. And what we're she didn't include sorry, we're running around with our hair on fire. We didn't get some stuff in here, but you can see that this still goes out to 2036. The maturities are matched to your This is the proposed structure of the new bonds. So we are not changing the structure. We are not changing the length of time that these bonds are outstanding. We are matching that up and essentially just taking and pulling those yields from 5% effectively down to anywhere from 3.39 to 3.9%. So just a few weeks ago, most of those would have been in the 4s, and we still have provided the optionality if the market moves between now and Monday that we may not do those 4% coupons refunding wise. And we can show you, it doesn't look like our analysts included in there an analysis of the by maturity savings, but each one of those individually are saving money. We do not do an entire deal if parts of it are not saving money. So we will be looking to only do the portions of it that are efficiently saving money based on how we maturity match this thing. We are preserving your ability to refinance those into the future. And this is that call date. So we will have 4 of those maturities, somewhere in the realm of $6 million and change dollars will be eligible to be refinanced again, should the ability arise in the future. So again, we're protecting that ability of the board to continue to be able to move in and out of debt, refinance, save money, and doing it in a way that is within industry standards so that we're broadening that base of investors and making our largest possible subset of buyers, because the more demand we can have, the lower rates can be, because higher demand means higher prices for those looking to buy, which means they have to accept a lower rate of return. So we're looking at taking your debt from about 4.75% to about 3.9%. And I know you say that the math doesn't add up when we look at the yield columns, but that 3.9% is also including our fee as interest cost, as well as looking at the cost of the call provision itself and trying to take that into account, because we price those bonds to the call. So you see these yield to maturities out here. And then we have most of this debt is out long. So the actual weight, we weight that based on the amount of principal in each maturity. And you can see that the weight of that these bonds are down towards the back of the life of these bonds. So we're looking at taking 4.75% interest down below 4%. It's going to result in a savings, we feel, of about $900,000. And this is reflective of the documents you've already seen. This net new D/S here, those are the proposed payments based on the market as of this morning. Again, the parameters will be, or not again, but the parameters will be a little bit softer than this. And the reason behind that is because we don't want to have to come back to you and have another board meeting to get this done if the market were to start to move the other way. We've been heavily involved and engaged in talking with investors and talking with our salesmen and talking with our syndicators, which are the people that aggregate all this information about the market and try to find the right lowest price. And we feel that there's still a lot of demand out there, that people are hungry for bonds, particularly of this size issue. We were in the market with School of the Osage up near Camdenton, Lake Ozark area today, and had good follow through and return, even though it was a much smaller deal. Sometimes the larger a deal is, the more interest we get. But the old net D/S, excuse me, that's what you are currently paying on your debt. So if you did nothing, this is what you would pay. So down here at total, you can see you're scheduled to pay a little over $14.7 million of principal and interest on your debt as it sits for the 2016. If you enact the refinancing, we estimate that you'll be somewhere in that 13.8 to 13.9 million dollar range in payments for that $900,000 and change of savings. Within that, you'll see the annualized savings. When we talk about bending over and picking up pennies, the earliest opportunity you would have to come back and do a no tax rate increase bond issue as you embark on that long range planning and some of those community meetings that you discussed earlier is next year. Really, honestly, as soon as next year, you would have the cash flow ability to go out and issue additional debt up to your capacity should you want to. But the impact of being able to save $90,000 to $100,000 a year between 2027 and 2036, conservatively speaking, offers you another $2 million of no tax rate increase bonding capacity versus what you would have had before in terms of how your cash flows work. So again, bending over and picking up pennies, trying to make sure we're taking advantage of everybody's savings that we can. And should rates continue to rise, that savings could be important. Well, will definitely be important, but could be more important if we can amortize principal in those places where we've had those savings and shorten the duration of any new borrowings. So the other thing we want to do is make sure that we're allowing you to have a shorter duration on new borrowings as we can, within reason, within limits, right? Because again, when we do a no tax rate increase bond issue and just extend your debt, we are parking the majority of the new debt out in the long end so that your payments from one common plan of finance have kind of a nice, smooth, slow, gradual increase that again is designed to allow you every 4 to 6 years to be able to go back up to your bonded capacity at a no tax rate increase to you all. When we talk about the savings and where you're at, and we also talk about that state capacity, as you've heard, right now, we would project that in 2025, based on a little bit of growth, you'll have about $30 million in bonding capacity. Again, should you enact this refinancing, that will probably go to $31 million or $30.8 million because you will have that additional $800,000 or so of additional room and bonding capacity as well. So you all are in great shape from your debt service, and we are just looking at taking the opportunity here to lower the effective interest rate of the bonds you're paying on for this particular issue, which will be eligible to be refinanced on a tax exempt basis and use that advantage status that you have as of December 1st. So the plan would be that we would close this on December 6th. We'll be in the market, hopefully on Monday, as I said. But one other advantage to what's going on in our market right now is this idea of getting out in front of this thing. We will actually get you locked into an investment, which is a federal security that the federal government provides to you all as a state or as a local government issuer. It's called a SLUG, State Local Government Security, SLUGs. We will be able to invest in that at the time that we price your bonds. And as you can see here, we are looking at earning over the 90-day window between now and when we can actually mechanically go in and refinance those bonds. We're going to earn over 5.5% interest on your bonds. Now, typically that would not be allowed because the bond yield on the previous issue is what actually matters for what you can invest any sort of vehicle that's going to pay that debt off. But because we were in this 90-day window, we have no yield restrictions. And we are able to earn more in interest than you're paying out. Remember, you're paying out 4.75% on the existing debt that you're getting ready to refinance and just under 4% on the debt that we think we're going to issue into the market on Monday, assuming market rates hold on. So we're talking about earning anywhere from 0.75% to 1.5% or more above what you have and actually above what you're paying and actually do what we call positive arbitrage. So you're actually going to earn some additional savings that way. And you can see that number here. We are what we call net funding this. So we were issuing bonds and putting into your account $128,960 less than what you need to actually refinance this debt. And what we're going to do on the backside of that is lock in slug rates for you all and get that investment bought on the 6th and be able to earn you some additional savings that way as well. So usually issuing debt earlier is something we do to get out in front of market conditions. And totally we have that justification right now as rates go down. But we have an additional thing of saying, well, we're not getting early to take advantage of 12 years worth of interest cost savings. We're also getting out there early to arbitrage and save a little bit more money. So that's the refinancing as we look at it. The only thing we haven't covered is cost of issuance. Again, total underwriter's discount here is our fee at 0.75% of the par. And that could change depending on where interest rates are, but it will change very, very slightly. We'll just size this issue and only issue the amount of debt we need to get the project done, but structure will move around depending on where rates are at. But we anticipate that fee to be somewhere 68, 69,000. The last three issues have all done better than what we initially thought. And so that fee actually went down. The remaining part of the cost of issuance, the largest part of that is going to be your bond counsel. Right now, you all work with Gilmore and Bell. They are a law firm out of Kansas City. They're one of the premier bond counsel firms in the country. They provide all the documentation for this. You will issue essentially a large document that's similar to a stock prospectus that has all kinds of information on the district and their bonds and conditions and everything else that go into that. It's about a 90-page document that is drafted by Gilmore and Bell. They also offer the opinion with the IRS that these bonds are eligible to be tax exempt, both at the state and local level, or state and federal level, sorry. So we're looking at, what is that, about $125,000 worth of cost to get this done. It is expensive to access capital markets, but again, most of that goes to our team of salesmen getting out and auctioning these off at the highest price, which again is the lowest possible yield for you all. Oh, good. They've got, never mind. This is on the first page. So 9.664 years is what we think the new issue will be. The old issue was sitting at 9.516. So I will have our folks adjust some of the principal down. It won't take much to get it matched exactly that 1/10 of a year that we need to subtract some time off of that to make sure it is a true maturity match. And then we will also be looking at a bond yield at about 360. And then, like I said, that true interest cost that includes our fee as cost to be around 3.9%. So we'll have $830,000 of premium, that will help aid in reducing that amount of debt outstanding, as well as that $128,000 in interest we're going to earn, less the fees and expenses to get you to about that 800,000. So sorry for the runaround a little bit earlier in this week. We were hoping Standard & Poor's, since they've issued you 3 ratings this year, would adjust and adapt to our slightly shorter timeline. Best laid plans of mice and men, they did not allow us to do that. So we still feel good about pricing on Monday as opposed to pricing today. And we actually had some positive movement in the market today. So maybe we'll end up even a little bit better. But the plan would be to come back on Monday, or have a final report for you on Monday on how the sale went, and save hopefully about $900,000, but we will keep you apprised. Be happy to answer any questions you all might have on the refinancing or anything else related to your GO debt.
Wow, thank you so much. We don't appreciate the runaround. We know you're working hard, and so just email us as much as you want to, and we'll be there for you. Thank you so much for picking up pennies for us. Any questions? And are y'all ready to call a vote?
I have a question.
Okay.
Of course. I appreciate you explaining that, and I appreciate the idea that every penny matters, Mr. Kinder. I have a question, though. We want to save interest payments, which is awesome. I love this idea of refinancing. I'm not of refunding them. I'm not against that at all. But we want to save interest payments, and also, as you mentioned, we're chasing bonding capacity by having less outstanding debt. Why is it better to refinance it and keep paying it rather than just paying it off? Why don't we just pay off that debt? It's low enough, it's within our reach and our one fund. How come we don't do that? I saw that you said there were some errors, factual errors, but would you explain those or convince me why it's better? Because I think most of us agree, in this economy especially, we don't want a lot of outstanding debt. Maybe I don't understand your reasoning behind that.
Oh, you can pay this off at any time. We have a fancy made up word in our world called a defeasance. You are able to pay that in cash at any given time. But I will say this, you do have to satisfy your debt obligations on an annual basis. Right now, we have planned deficits that are small, but they exist. And so are sitting at $5 million, we think is about what you'll have in Fund 3, your dedicated debt service fund, at the point in time which you could refinance these in March when your tax revenue comes in. That is certainly something you could do, although we would not advise you dipping that balance down to zero. There are a lot of reasons behind that. Number one, we want to keep a healthy reserve. You know, you all sitting at about 75% reserves in your debt service fund, I realize is significantly higher than for your operating funds. But for your operating funds, what you're hoping to be able to do is float money until your tax revenue comes in January, right? From July 30th to January 1st or the beginning of January, when you get the bulk of your tax revenues coming in the door. Your debt service reserve is a totally different metric and a totally different purpose. What we're hoping with your debt service reserve to do is to provide you the freedom and flexibility not to have to raise taxes, right? So if, you know, running a deficit right now, we certainly wouldn't want to spend down below the amount of deficit that you plan to spend over the next couple of years, because then that would require you to increase taxes. You know, as we look at it, the other problem is
Why is that? I'm sorry, I don't follow that reasoning at all.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to kind of get into a little bit more of this. One of the things that you all do is you piggyback on the state direct deposit program. That allows you to have a AA+ rating. You have a nice strong rating and an A+. We do get that underlying rate, what we call an underlying rating. So it's like a credit rating, like for your house, right? Or when you go out and get a credit rating to buy a house or buy a car, your credit rating is the exact same thing here, and you have a nice high A+ credit rating. But having the AA+ does open you up to more investors and does open you up to a lower interest cost borrowing rate. Now, all your debt is sitting there in the direct deposit program, with the exception of, I think, one issue we did when the state treasurer had some issues with how we register the bonds. But at any rate, your payments for the following fiscal year, so your payments for fiscal 25, are going to start getting intercepted from your state aid payments this March in fiscal 24. So when I say you have $5 million, you probably have something like negative $1 million sitting in your debt service fund right now. So unless I'm missing something, that cash, while it is sitting in your debt service fund, is sitting in trust with BOK, who administers the direct deposit program. And they will have now intercepted all of those funds. So outside of the interest payment that you've already made, they're going to have about $6 million of your money sitting there that you do not have access to, because it's being used to pay the upcoming debt. And then you'll get that money in the door. You'll have $5 million, and those monthly intercepts will start again for 10 months, starting in March through December. So you all are free to do whatever you want with the cash that you have on hand. You certainly don't have $10 million cash on hand. And I agree with you. This is not the best time to be borrowing money, but it is not the worst time either. We are basically at essentially historically normal rates. The day I started, October 1st, 2007, the 1 year AAA MMD, which is the highest grade you can be, and it's a market basically metric. So you could borrow money out 1 year for 3.56% if you were the state of Missouri in issuing general obligation debt. They do have a AAA rating on their general obligation bonds if they should ever issue any, although they don't. But you would have borrowed as the Ozark School District at something higher than that for 1 year, maybe 3.9, 3.8. But you certainly would have been in the mid to high fours, if not the low fives, on a 20-year financing. So we are in a higher interest rate environment than we were. But you know, the real problem is if you can't pay it off now, and you leave some above market interest rates outstanding, then you have to accelerate those payments even faster. And in the meantime, regardless of what you think the work that I do is, if you leave some of this outstanding and it's saving money, you're going to have 100 people that do what I do knocking down your door saying we've missed a refinancing. And not 100, but there's really only probably a handful of us that even do this anymore. But you're going to have a lot of people thinking that you've missed something, because the way that the debt works with your rollable calls and everything else, if we go out past March 1st and you haven't paid this off and it's above market rates, you are paying more interest than you should be paying. Now, if you want to take some of those balances and spend them down, that is perfectly reasonable, but it does give us less flexibility and less comfort moving forward. And that's an exercise we need to do with you all and your administration, because this is, I've been doing this for 17 years, and
Right.
we don't spend down below 60 or 70% reserves very often, because that essentially means you don't have any ability to absorb any sort of economic downturns.
So you're saying if you can't pay it all off at once, then you won't be able to refinance either?
No, I'm saying you could do a combination of that. I'm saying no matter what you do, even if you say, hey, we want to wait and do this until January, and we'll take that interest rate risk.
Or to split it in half, or
Yeah, right. We would shrink the size of the issue. And we would still want to make sure we're refinancing debt that is above market interest rates, because every day that you allow that debt that's above market to toll is a day that you need the interest rate then to drop even further for it to be a break even for the district.
I'm not against refinancing. I just wanted to hear why it's better to refinance instead of just pay it all off.
It's always better to pay everything with cash, right? Always.
Not if you need a reserve, though. I understand that.
Madam President, I'd like to call for a vote. There's a motion on the floor.
All in favor of approving the bond reissuance as presented, raise your hand. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate you.
Folks, good to see you. We'll have results for you on Monday.
And anything else? We just need a.
He knows his stuff.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's committed. We just need a motion.
No, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Amber, second by Patty. All in favor? Okay, got to see hands. Yep, unanimous. Yeah, thank you guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you. No, I'm not done. Thank you for catching me.